Okay. So that'll be coming later on the agenda. So what we're going to be doing now is, my session's been brought forward. I'm going to look at OAI harvesting of lunar images, and then these other display things like getting database records, display description, field, and brief results. So this first bit on lunar images, it kind of actually fits in really well in the agenda-wise as well. Anyone who's actually with Peter's session about Pure, we're carrying on this track to that, talking about repositories. Luckily this time we're talking about Dublin Core, which is a lot simpler than mods. Okay, so yes, there's going to be some odd things going to happen with this. Okay, I've got a lot of PowerPoints, but then there's some things I'll be able to show on the system, and fingers crossed they're working. So they were yesterday afternoon. Okay, so what we're going to do start off with a bit about Luna. I'm not a Luna expert, I will be the first to admit that, but I always like a challenge of coming to grips with a new data source in Primo. And to be honest, it's in a lot of ways the things we've been particularly asked to look at was to mainly look at thumbnails, which is actually about the easiest part of it then is to do with Luna. Okay, so yes, I'm going to start with a session about Luna, and then we'll talk about these getting database record to display description, and then the different icons for different material types in the new user interface. So those are two sessions in the agenda, so we're going to carry on. Okay, so Luna we're going to talk about first of all. So, in case any of you didn't realise, Luna is actually an image-based repository. For our purposes, it has an OAI PMH interface, and it extracts in Dublin Core format. So this makes it ideal candidate for harvesting into Primo. So I'm not going to go into all the things about setting up a standard data source, but it's a basic standard data source setup. So we've got we just have to give it a source name. So I'm just giving it underscore Luna, and it's in Dublin Core, and source other, and it just uses a standard OAI splitter, which basically says where one record starts, where another one ends, and the input path here is actually standard one for OAI. So it's OAI underscore DC colon DC. So you can get some repositories that actually don't have all these lovely bits before the colon. So something to bear in mind if you are looking at harvesting Dublin Core. Sometimes it doesn't fit in the same Dublin Core standard. Okay, so as we're working on the Dublin Core. So basically, we're just working normalization based on the Dublin Core template. So one of the first things we tend to do with any OAI repository is you can actually validate it. So this is a thing hosted at the University of Cape Town. You can actually put in your base URL and it will just validate it's the correct OAI interface set up correctly. Okay, so actually this is also this could actually be picked out of Peter's slides when he was doing that Pure. When he said about the main fields. It's the same fields I'm going to be talking about. Yeah. Display type, always the most important one with Primo. Repositories tend to have many different resource types, and they need to be mapped into Primo. So we can look at that. Well, we're going to do exactly the same method as Peter did. He's using mapping. Well, actually for Luna it's simpler, but you can actually do it, same method as Peter. Also the same rule that Peter looked at was a link to resource. This is actually where do your users go from Primo. So if you most cases with repositories, we tend to go back to the repository homepage because you might have an embedded PDF or something that isn't actually available in the repository, or we can actually put the link to its source directly to any URL that's within the Primo setup. But what we're looking at mainly today was the links to thumbnail. So actually when we're going to be looking at this, I know there's 2 sites in here that are actually got Luna, so actually it's both. So we've got a bit of Sheffield Hallam, we've got a bit of Manchester. So even though we're using 2 different Lunas, nothing is ever completely the same, okay? So step 1 is always thoroughly analyse your own records, okay? You can have a general idea how things are going to be. This is how we're working in implementation. We know about 90% of the time when we're doing a repository, we know it's going to be the same for us. So when we're doing with ePrints, DSpace, we know what we need to do, what changes we need to make. So the main thing that I was asked to talk about here was to talk about thumbnails. And so without thumbnail, we get basically the default image icons. So this is actually showing on the classic user interface, and also how it looks like on the new user interface. Later on we're going to look at changing the default icons anyway, because it's not particularly, in my opinion, a particularly nice icon. So what we're wanting to do is to, and this gives you hope for this session, we actually have managed to get some images in. We're going to have in the classic UI, you get things like this. So you've got, in this case, you've got a sort of score, and this one we've got an image of Vector Epworth. So these ones are actually taken from Manchester. For reasons we'll talk about later, I couldn't actually bring Sheffield Hallam's thumbnails in. But I can harvest Sheffield Hallam's Luna. So. Yes, we'll show exactly why. This is, it actually makes a very good example of things to consider in repositories. So that's classic user interface, and that's how it actually appears in the new user interface. So you can actually have thumbnails appearing from the repository in the new user interface. And this might actually solve your 18-month Salesforce case. Okay, so we have there's Luna in Primo. So we're talking about the links to thumbnails. So the links to thumbnail is actually a standard field you're probably more familiar with from your, whether it's Alma, Aleph or whatever, that basically will bring in synthetic book covers for you. So basically it's exactly the same kind of thing. We just need to write a rule into Primo to basically say, we bring in this, bring in thumbnails, but in this case we're wanting to bring them in from Luna directly. So here's a prerequisite. We need to have a URL syntax per image, which is actually more obvious than it, but isn't as obvious as it sounds. Some repositories, image repositories, don't actually have the URL for the image as part of their metadata. So you can actually write very, very complicated normalization rules to actually rewrite an entire path based on the URL of the record in the repository system, and then identify how to get the image extension at the end. Yes, that's what I just said here. So that's one way of doing it, or you can actually create a template and a source record ID. So this creating a template and a source record ID is similar to how something like Syndetics works. But it's easier if the link is already in the OAI field, okay? So in this respect, we were talking about Luna in Primo. So when I started looking at this, I thought, oh, I have to see what's happening. Is the OAI now? And I actually came across this. So in version 71 of Luna, By default, we have that you can actually put in the identifier of your image. Okay, so this is one, we're going to actually talk a little bit more about this later, but it actually usefully tells us there's these 5 different sizes. So we need to check, is the URL in the WPOI extracted? And in our case, as we've just seen, is yes. And is the URL of the image on either port 80 or 443? Okay, so these are, we want these to be open ports, okay? Because closed ports can cause browser issues, and also it seems to me there's some issues with some Primos trying to reach out to obscure ports as well. So is the URL image on either of these standard open ports. So in this case, let's just Sheffield Hallam example here. So we've got, we can actually see here the URL for the image is part of the actual WPOI record. So if you wanted to, you could copy and paste this URL into the browser, and that would give you the image for that. Okay, so some of the other sessions today have actually talked a little about normalization, but not too much being considered about the conditional rules in Primo. So one of the things we need to actually think about is, if we're using the WPOI identifier field in Primo for identifying the URL for the image, we need to start thinking, actually, are we using this as a basis for anything else in Primo? So what other rules you might use it? Well, if you start looking through it, you'll find the links to resource field by default using the WPOI identifier field. As actually a display identifier field, which would also display that. So these are rules that, although we're talking about the link thumbnail rule, these are sort of things we need to keep at the back of our minds and think about for later. We're also going to have to change these rules. I'll actually put my hands up and say I'm not an expert on Luna, but I'm actually making an assumption that all thumbnails have a .jpg extension. But I'm pretty certain from what I can see on that Luna documentation they should do. But if not, you can actually create a mapping table with extensions of different things like .jpg, .jpeg, .tiff. I'm also going to look at what happens if someone put it in the .jpg in uppercase as well. These are all things you have to bear in mind, because Primo is very, very exact. So what we can do is we need to, and I'm going to show you the actual normalization in a moment, is we can actually put in these conditions. So we can actually put in conditions that it's true. We're looking at the current WPOI identifier. The conditions here, we're going to actually check for the all contents are lowercase. This would get around any file extensions being in uppercase. Okay, so it just makes it one less step for us to have to worry about uppercase extensions. There is also, I don't know if any of you know the Primo technical guide. It's a lovely section on transformation routines. There's so many transformation routines, it's actually one bit of the Primo documentation. I actually use the Knowledge Center most of the time for documentation. For anything, for this bit in the technical guide, I actually keep an old PDF version of the technical guide open in another window when I'm wanting to work with transformations. So this actually is a transformation here called Take Characters from End, which actually is very helpful in our case. So this means we could actually, we're taking any WPOI identifier field and see, does it end in .jpg? So this is exactly what kind of things we're looking for. Maybe it ends in .html, which is not what we're wanting. But the idea is we're actually identifying the last 4 characters in the string. So then we put in the next condition is check the string exist.jpg. So this is actually saying, right, anything in the HTML not interested in is all these JPGs we want. Okay. So if the extension is not JPG, you might need to adjust this rule here about take character made. You might have to do one with 5 as well, similar. And you can also run so that use mapping table to check if the JPG extension or anything else exists. But for my purposes, I'm just using a .jpg. And for some sites, it's actually necessary to adjust the URL to port 80. I've actually also worked in one repository where they'd actually upgraded the URL from the repository, and a lot of them actually, the URL to link to it actually still had the old URL in it. So it's the kind of thing you can actually write transformations in Primo normalization rules to actually rewrite the URL. So in this case, we can actually adjust the port to port 80. So you need to check first it works. And this is the bit that everyone always forgets about with Primo. When you want to mark anything as a URL, you need to have a $u. So you just think $u stands for a URL. Anyone in Peter's session when he was talking about linked resource, he also covered, so we need to have a $u URL. You need to come up with a $e, which is a description field to use a code table. For links to thumbnails, we don't actually need to have a $e value, we just need the $u value. So this is actually what it looks like, isn't it? It actually it's a lot simpler to you actually see it on the screen. So you've got the using the double core identifier, field matching the current one, lowering case here, taking characters from the import, and checking string JPG. And this other transformation, replace string by string. This is what I said to you. So some repositories, the images are actually repositories on port 8181. Okay, so we can actually put this transformation to, having checked it works, is to replace colon 8181 with nothing, because it was port 80 URL, you don't actually need to put anything in. So this would actually mean that we'll look at the outcome of this in a second. Complete this process. So we can actually use the test editor. So this morning we've seen, I was actually really impressed. Scott actually got the learned how to upload the whole record into Primo to test it. I still have problems doing this, so so one of the things you can actually do, and I'll show you this, is you can actually replace line by line in the existing record. So, for example, we'll test this in a second, is we can actually take this as a string for an identifier and the output. And so like this, so you can actually see the create a $u, and there's nothing else on there. Actually, this is another record. This is a Manchester record. And you can actually see in here we've got the obscure port, and you can see a transformation in here. So we've got the $u in here, and we've actually lost the port reference in here. So this actually you should be able to if you copy and paste that URL into a browser, and it will show the thumbnail. At this point, I will actually show you the. Show the normalization rules. Okay, so I'm just going to just quickly show you. Okay, so let me go. We're looking at these rules here for the Luna. Just edit these, and the ones we're looking at is the link thumbnail. So actually, one of the first things I should point out is doubling core template normalization rules has a syntactic thumb in here. We'll actually look at this in a moment, the template for this. So in this case, we disable this first of all, because we're going to start looking at how that picks it up. It's going to it's picking up the value that we're not actually going to have in here. And if you're putting in thumbnails, it's best to have that decided one source for thumbnails for the data source, okay? Okay, so this was so we disabled that rule and added this rule in here. I showed the screenshot of. So we actually can test the record. So as I said, I still have problems uploading these whole records. So we can actually go to this doubling core demo on to edit it. And so this is where Scott showed you could actually load a test file. Okay, if you can get that to work, well done. I'm just going to edit what's here. So you can actually just put in the field you're wanting to test. So, okay, yeah, so I've actually got this one in here already. This, so they've got in here this test record, the example for Manchester with this obscure port. So we can actually copy and paste that in. We just need to save and test it. And this actually gives us just the PNX value it's going to create. Yeah. So yeah, one of the things Scott showed you earlier is you can actually run the normalization on the entire test record if you wish to. But if we just want to edit this one particular normalization rule, this is quite an easy way of doing it. So we can actually go in and edit this again, and we can actually edit this, and we can we can actually just copy and paste this doubling core identifier field in. Okay, so one of the things, if you're copying and pasting fields into this test editor, make sure you've got the open brackets and the end brackets, okay? Because if you haven't got the end, beginning and end, if you try to save the record, it will come up with a funny message in yellow at the top, and then you'll be spending ages trying to find out which line's got the error. We'll just paste that in, and we can save and test that. So we can actually see in here the what's been created. So as I said to you, we can actually copy and paste that into a browser. So this is the kind of thing that's going to feed back into Primo.
What happens if there's more than one identifier in the field, in the record? Often there's more than one, isn't there?
Okay, I was going to mention that. I was hoping you weren't going to answer that. This is on the problem. It can actually, if you've got.
Okay, we'll come back to that.
Yeah, the way Primo works is it will only display one thumbnail.
Right, yeah.
But it would actually, I think, it should display the last one it finds. Okay.
So it's loads one and then another one?
Yeah, that's how I haven't actually tested it with Luna, but I think that's how it will work. And no, that's how it works on, like if you're going from a library catalogue and you had Amazon and Google and Synthetics, it'd actually display the last one out of the list loaded. Always loaded, yeah. So you're going to end up with a blank pixel whole thing. Okay, yeah, so I wasn't planning on going into too much more details about normalization rules on here, but just talk a little bit about the pipe. So the pipe is actually a really important part of the process. The pipe is basically how you bring the data into Primo. So you just need to give it a name. There's different types of pipes. There's a regular pipe. I'll talk about differences in a moment. You just use your data source and the harvesting method is higher, and then you just need the URL of the server. So this ends up to the bits in the OAI syntax up to the question mark. You need to set a harvest date, so this is why when you've ever received one of our forms saying what is the date of the earliest record in your repository, you're thinking, why on earth do you need to know that? And it's basically we need to set this clock. Normalization, normalization, yeah, that's we've just looked at. So there are some issues with pipes in repositories. We'll spend a little bit of time going through. Okay, first question you need to ask, and I've got no idea about the answer to this about Luna. Does the incremental extract include deleted items? So we're talking about a full load, all your full data into Primo, but then we need to sort of, you've still got people who are depositing things into repositories, so they need to be uploaded into Primo as well. So sometimes things have to be suppressed or deleted from the repository. So how does Luna handle this? Does it actually have include the header for the deleted items, or do you have to then do what's the other one here? It's to basically run on the pipe schedule. We have to do this for other repositories as well. So we have what's called the regular pipe, maybe Saturday to Thursday. So this is basically picking up all the new and updated records from Luna. And then you can actually do the delete reload pipe on a Friday. But if you do this, you need to go to the pipe setup and manually change the clock back to the first record date. Because if you just leave it, it will just, when you run a pipe, it stores as it's the last date and time it ran. And so it would, if you do a delete and reload pipe without doing any changes, it would delete all your Luna records, and then it would actually harvest the ones in from the last time this pipe was run. So it would only bring in like 6 days worth of new records. So that's not what you want. So this is something you need to think about. Is you might manually have to configure the date for a delete reload pipe.
So would you just open from pipe, or would
you create a second pipe? So you have this one sort of set on the schedule on Saturday, Saturday to Thursday, and then you have this delete reload pipe. You can, and this is one where you might want to just run it manually, because it's not going to affect your front end until after the hot swapping, 6 o'clock at night. Another pipe issue is what to harvest one set or all. I know in Manchester you've got an odd setup with several different sets, each having a different pipe. I'm not exactly sure why. But if you don't want to include all your sets into Primo, then you need, but if you want to have more than one set, you need to have a pipe for each set. So what we try to encourage you, if you've got like 5, 10, 15 different sets out of maybe 30 sets, is you actually make a change into your repository setup. You actually create a new set called Primo. And we just harvest this Primo set. So this will only contain the records that you want to be displayed in your Primo. It just depends who administers your repository and whether they're familiar with being able to set a pipe up that way. Okay, so this is a good, another pipe issue. Most of our Primos are multi-tenant, sort of hosted in Amsterdam. So is the OAI interface available from Primo or just within your institution? Because your OAI, your repository supplier might only have set up the OAI interface with it to be available to certain IPs or on in your IP range. So there's two things we can do this. We can actually use as a pipe setup I'll show you is you can actually do the test connection. So this is a great tool for testing this. We basically just test it, is the URL valid? Okay, it doesn't do a great deal else apart from say yeah it can actually reach that. The test connection is actually much more better for testing SFTP setups. The harvest log can tell you something completely different than the test connection. So this is where I'm going to look at this in a moment. You can actually look at the pipe logs and you can have a look at the harvest log and we'll give you the dreaded 403 message. Okay, so you go through the log and you can actually see here the request. The OAI request went into shim.sghu.ac.uk and then we just asked it to identify itself. And the response that it gave back was 403. Okay, and then Primo said, tells us it couldn't get a proper answer to the identifying request. Because if you're not sure what 403 status is, there's a good website called http://statuses.com, and then you just put in the status, so we can put in 403. And this one is the server understood the request but refuses to authorise it. That's a nice way of putting it. So this, I'm not 100% certain, but this is something you have to change on the Luna. So pretty much it's a Luna Apache configuration.
Right, so you can talk to your Primo?
Yes, it works on your sandbox because you've obviously told it your sandbox IP, so that's why it works on your sandbox. It didn't actually work on the server I'm working with. Okay, so if you get that, then you need to go and actually sort out on the repository side. Okay, so something else you should be aware of. Does anyone remember these? The child of the 70s, we used to get these coming down our street all the time. So we need to think, do we have one of these as the repository address? Or is it one of these, Lewis Hamilton's lovely race car? Okay, so can your repository handle major upload? Okay, so it depends on the size of your repository as well, how many records you've got and how many you're trying to bring in and what is its actual capability of handling speed, because there is not an infinite time where Primo can connect to your repository. It's, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think it's 15 minutes before it then will terminate its session. So you can actually, this way of handling this, if we're doing it in implementation, it's something you might not be aware of, but there is actually a Primo connection timeout, and this access is only available for ExLibris staff. Okay, so this is something we can actually temporarily arrange with our hierarchy, that we're actually raising this threshold to bring in a big data load. Other option is to do different sets, and this might be one of the reasons for the Manchester, because there's an awful lot of records and maybe it's too much to bring in one go, so you can just run several different pipes, balances the load nicer. It is also possible you can actually download make the OAI request directly to your PC. Okay, and So then you actually then have the records on your PC, and then you can actually put them into a place where Primo can harvest them from. So the only thing to watch out for in these cases, you sometimes need to watch the header and the file splitter. Okay. But I know this is, for example, I know it's not a Luna site, but I know, for example, this library leak deposits. The initial load is beneficiary to download all the files to somewhere for Primo to harvest rather than actually get Primo to connect to the British Library's OAI interface. So those of you who were at my session earlier, I said to you I like to have top tips, insider tips. This actually is something you probably missed, or you might not have been aware of. This is actually an issue we get a lot with repositories, is where the record ID, you can actually end up in Primo with the same record ID. And the reason for this is because by default this is the file splitter only will take after the last colon. So after Primo 4.51 there was a new variable put into the file splitter settings called split record, or you can split record ID, and you can actually change that setting to false. So you can actually create a customized file splitter. So this is actually available to every institution level. So you can do this. So this basically means that the whole string will be taken to the record ID rather than just the numbers. So you should not end up with the same record ID. So for those of you who aren't familiar with that, I'll just show you. So the file split is actually available. So there's actually two here. There's file splitters. So you can actually, out of the box, we get these. Essentially, when we're setting up the pipe, we're just using an OAI splitter. So you can actually create, if you customize that, you can actually then go and add your own. You can actually create a new mapping one, and we can call this. The splitter, and we can actually just copy the class from the out of the box one, and we just can create it. Actually, I just realised I can't spell splitter, but never mind. So we save that, and then there's actually file splitters params. This is exactly what we want when we're doing a demonstration. The internet goes slow.
Probably melting. Probably melting.
Yes. Okay, so this is so you can actually there are these values in here. So exactly as I showed you before. I'm not going to bother doing this. If you customize it. If you customize this, you can customize this table. Then you can actually, for the file splitter name, you can put in all the paths here, exactly as you want for the patching for the OAI splitter, and then you have the value for split record ID. And put in an entry false here. So obviously you go and put in all the other values from the OAI splitter, like the split by path, the content X path, and so on. Okay, so when you've done it, you save it. So in pipe configuration, we'll get there in a second. Okay, so you can actually edit the pipe you're setting up. So you can actually choose here the sorry, it's in the data source setup. The ongoing configuration wizard. Data sources configuration. Okay, so you've got the file splitter is here. Okay, so you can actually see the file splitter here. So it's something you can think about doing. Okay, so what I'm just going to do is show you. Hopefully, going to this works. So I'm just going to show you. Okay, trust me, these did appear earlier.
Yes.
I did actually test them this morning. So I did get the screenshot, so it wasn't just a fluke. Finally, okay.
Oh, it's taking long.
So one of the things you've got to rely on is bandwidth speed. So we seem to have milk float here. Okay, so this is I'm sure if I repeated that search, oh look, they have
Yeah.
okay, so this is something, it's your browser speed picking up the images, okay, as well as, this is the other thing to bear in mind, is how fast is your repository bringing the image back. So yeah, so you can actually, this is what the image is through. Probably a bit late, and your user's probably thinking, hang on, why has that suddenly appeared there?
Yeah.
But yeah, you can see, actually now see how we can actually bring in the images as standards into Primo, which was the purpose of this session. So just basically to summarise on that, thumbnails are really nice to display in Primo, and Luna is actually really easy to add these in. But you need to check your W4 identifier field and actually adjust it to your specifics, and also check for the other fields as well. So, any questions on Luna? Okay.
It's not about Luna, it's like it's file splitter. And
Oh, wow. You should
we've
have
got
mentioned it.
car.
Car.
To get that signal
Yes.
from the pipe. We've put it on the FTP server. So it's a zip file or the records in car brings it into one file. The pipe is picking up the file.
But it's actually not doing anything with it.
It's failing. It picks up one file and then it fails into that. So is that something to
It's quite possibly, if it gets to normalisation, goes to normalisation, it just says no records, that's your file splitter. So you need to actually start looking at your files. Yeah.
We should look at that.
Yeah, that would be my advice, look at the file splitter setup. Any other questions on Luna?